What's up, guys? Here is my Gala guide. It's one of my favorite champions in the game. It's been carrying me for the past several months, ever since Blessings were released into the game. Blessings, or Polymorph specifically, kind of forced people to rethink their teams. Madame Ceres and Kaimar weren't as strong anymore, and people had to figure out how to play this game from the beginning. And it was a long process. It took a while for the meta to develop, and people were doing all sorts of weird stuff. And me, at first, I was testing lots of champions. I was trying to use Shamael. In general, I was trying to use different defense ignore champions to try counter the fact that I'm not gonna use any debuffers. And in the end, after testing lots of champions, I wanted to give Gala a go. And it's an epic champion. It's not something that I think any other people really tried at this point. It ended up working very well. She has very strong kit. Basically all she does is damage. She has insane damage, but she has very harsh conditions on her skills. She needs to be full HP or have a shield to get extra effects on her skills, like ignore defense or extra turn. But all of her skills ignore enemy defense, and they ignore it by a decent amount. It's 20 to 25 to 50% on every skill, which is very huge. And her multipliers are good as well. So her damage is insane, but it's a bit tricky to use her in arena. But if you're able to pull it off, she does insane damage. And that's how I've used her in the past 5 months to finish top 3 4 times. And not only did I finish top 3, but she was the key reason why I was able to do that, because she kind of counters many of the champions in the current meta, as you might have seen on my other video that was about countering Mortu and Rotos, which mentioned Gala in it as well. But she does basically one thing, and that's damage, but she does it incredibly well, and she needs a team that supports and protects her. But if you're able to do it, you can get some insane results, and she's basically the best epic for arena right now. I mean, she hasn't been the only epic that I've used before, or that has been viable for arena in the past. I have finished dozens of times in Platinum with both Rector and Vogot, and of course most of the players were using Madame Ceres back in the day, and maybe I will make videos about those two champions as well. Yeah, I've had lots of fun with this champion. Originally, when I started using her, some people were mocking me for it. I remember the first, before I used her on an actual reset, I was posting pictures in my clan about it, and some people were saying I'm trolling and I'm trying too hard to be a free-to-play player. And I was telling everybody that it's good, and they were stop trolling. And then I kind of stopped talking about it, and I brushed it to the side. And then on the next reset, when I was gonna try it for real and see how it works in practice, I remember during the reset, one of the guys in one of the enemy clans, a top arena player, he was messaging me during reset that, why are you trolling during reset, stop hitting me with Gala, what the fuck are you doing? And in that reset, I ended up finishing rank 3. And after that, I've been using her ever since. I've been using her for months. People know that I've used her. Some other people have started using her. But she's still viable. She just fits so well in this current meta that it's very hard to get around, to counter her. Of course, there is better options. She isn't the only option. Baron and Georges are better nukers. But overall, she definitely is viable and has a place. And I think many people watching this video might be surprised how hard she actually hits and how viable she is in the game. Let's look at Gala's multipliers first, so we get a better idea what she actually does in the game. Let's see. So her A1 is a double hitter that ignores 30% of target's defense. This is incredibly good in arena because even if you fight against defense teams that have a lockout, she will still work, and it will be good combination with ally attacks from champions like Nakarada. And overall, it's like well above average A1 skill. Like most of the legendaries have much worse A1s than she has. Like pretty much like I guess Candrafon and George would have better A1s, but out of top of my head, I'm not sure if any other like meta nukers have better ones. I think she has better one than everybody else, pretty much. Like she does way more damage than Rotos with her A1, for instance. The extra shield on her A1 also synergizes well with her other skills, because her A3 needs a shield on her to be able to get proc an extra turn. And it's a very strong skill, as we will see in a second. So let's see, her A2 is her strongest like grab damage skill, and it ignores 50% of target's defense, and it heals her and gives her a shield based on the surplus damage if she's full HP and doesn't need any healing. And this does insane damage. It does more damage than Rotos A3, and my Rotos is in much better gear than her, and she still does way more damage. Like this can do like upwards of like 300k damage in the practice where I use it, and I'm sure with like insane gear she could do more, but like frequently it does around like 150 to 250k damage. It's very big damage, like in general. And her A3 also ignores 25% of target's defense, and it grants her an extra turn if she's full HP. So at the start of the fight, if you have somebody that has a shield, like Nakarada, or somebody is in bolster set, she is able to start the fight with this skill, and then use another skill, her A2, and it will be insane damage combo. The A2 does much more damage than the A3, but against some more squishy targets in the meta, like maybe enemy team has a fast stun Ukko, the A3 will be enough to one-shot those, and the A2 is enough to one-shot even Duchesses. So the damage is insane, as you will see later in the testing. Now let's take a look at her build. Her build is fairly standard nuker build. Basically the most damage is some combination of cruel set with either lethal or savage, depending which one you have. For me, I've been farming lethal since start of the Fae rotation release, and my lethal is way better than savage, because you have like, it's much easier time getting good pieces with Forge, and I haven't been farming Fire Knight at all after Fae release, and I've instead used my energy to farm Spider to have better accessories and so on. So my gear is pretty good though, and I'm sure better than most people, but this will work with much less good gear as well. Like in the end, she's epic, she's not empowered. This is not the best gear in the game, not even close, but it's fairly good, and you can do it with even less. So if you're not able to get 2-piece cruel set, crit damage is the second best one, but I will show the damage calculator later in this video. But often people underestimate how strong ignore defense in this game is. Like the 2-piece set bonus from cruel, the damage ignore part is the important one, not the extra attack you gain from it. Like the extra attack is good and makes difference, but even for a defense scaling nuker, cruel 2-piece set bonus is more damage than crit damage set bonus or defense set bonus or anything else. Like, and it's not even close. It's a lot better, just so you know. So apart from that, the accessories, like the extra bonus, like the extra effect accessories like Revenge, Blood Shield and Refresh, all of them are good on her. Like it is totally worth losing some damage to get some extra effects on the set bonus. Especially if you can get it on like Amulet, because it doesn't make that big difference what kind of amulet you have. But it would be nice if you could have one Blood Shield accessory so that you will be able to gain shields on her skills when she does damage. Like she gains the shield from her A1, but then you would also gain it on her A3, and that would help her out so that she feels the condition on her A2, which is her hardest hitting skill. Having a shield up is a requirement for A2 to get the 50% defense ignore effect. Otherwise it will do much less damage, and you're better off using A1 and saving the A2 for later. But also, Revenge and Refresh are decent. Her A1 hits hard, so Revenge is good. But since you're mostly using her for offense, and you will probably use her in the type of team that enemy shouldn't really be hitting her, or they might not even be able to hit her, so it's not maybe as good as the other ones. Refresh is also very good because her A2 does insane damage, and if you can get the cooldown overturned with it, it's insane. But also her A3 grants an extra turn if she's full HP, and if you get lucky, you can do multiple A3s in row if you proc Refresh, and that's insane damage. So definitely if you're able to fit those special accessory sets on your accessories, even at the cost of some damage, you should do it. Then the masteries are fairly standard ones for nukers. I wouldn't really do too much deviation on these masteries. Like usually I would recommend that masteries are very personal, and they depend on the type of team you run, and the same champions can be run with totally different masteries or a small deviation in their masteries. It's very common, and often copy pasting other people's masteries might not be the optimal choice for you, but usually if you have the most important ones, it doesn't really make that big difference. The only mastery that I would consider changing, depending on your team and builds, is the one that gives you 6 speed for every kill. It's totally optional. For me, I don't have a lockout. I'm usually waiting out for the enemy stone skin and Duchess Whale before I'm able to properly do any damage. And usually after that, then I will need a few turns to actually finish the fight. And I just want her to be fast to be able to rotate her skills and do damage. You could totally run her in a slower speed build. And the other one that you could use instead of this mastery is Ruthless Ambush, which is the one that is usually used on nukers. That is just overall the most damage. Like, it only grants the extra damage on first hit, so her A3 will not benefit from it, but of course her A2 is a single hit skill, and it's her biggest damage. But often she is not lacking in damage, and of course it depends on enemy buffs and builds and so on, but I like her to be fast, for me specifically, just in order to finish fights. But either works, it's not a big deal either way. So about her general stat spread, it's very basic nuker spread. The only difference is that I'm not purposefully trying to be slow on her. Nowadays often people build nukers extra slow on purpose. Like you might see champions like Georgit or Baron be even as slow as maybe 100 speed or 120 or 140 speed, and they do that in order to try move after enemy to avoid reaction procs. But on her, I usually have to wait out for the enemy turns anyway, and I want her to be able to rotate and outspeed enemy and do multiple turns. But if you have her, let's say 150 speed or whatever you can, it will totally work. Mine is of course in very good gear. Like for me, she's in my best speed damage set apart from the one on Rotos. And I do have a better set that is low, but I personally decided to go with the faster set on her, and I would also recommend this build for you guys. As far as her aura and blessing goes, I generally don't recommend using her aura a lot. Like you can use it, but you need to use it in specific scenarios, because in Platinum Arena Defense you will usually see a lot of Necrets, and Necrets, or any champion with ally attack skill, the in-game AI will always target the leader of your team, or the one that is first in the team order, which is your Aura champion. And if she is the lead of your team, that means that every time enemy Rotos or Candy or whoever hits with ally attack, it will hit her. And UDK passive doesn't protect her if it comes from ally attack, because the first hit will come from the champion that uses the skill, and that's the one that UDK will deflect onto himself. And the actual hit from, let's say, Candy or Rotos or whoever, it will come on her. And let's say you're using UDK to counter Rotos or Candy with her, they might be able to kill her because of that, with like typical champions like Necret or maybe even Cardiel that you might see in defense. As far as the blessings go, she has two options. The other one is Phantom Touch, which does extra damage or has a chance to proc an extra hit on enemy, which tends to hit very hard, but it was actually just recently nerfed, so it will not be as good as it used to be. But like, for me, in my gear, she tends to hit like between, let's say, 10 to 40k. It heavily depends on if she has attack buff or what buffs does enemy team have, but it still hits very hard. It's very big damage increase, and I think even still, if we talk about rab damage, this mastery is the one that gives most damage, even more than the legendary ones. Or it depends on the situation, because the next one, the other option for her blessing is Crushing Rend. It will be very good at 6-star, and it will grant you 6% ignore defense on every hit at 6-star, which is insane damage increase. And we're gonna take a look at the calculations after this. So here is a tool that I have for calculating damage, and right now we're gonna compare the damage increase that she gets from Crushing Rend. And what this calculator shows right now is we're basically comparing what damage she has in the same build, and these two charts here, like the Savage 25 and Cruel 5, they are both basically the same thing. They are just calculating defense ignore. So we can just take this off and put 30 here and just calculate them together, and it will be the same as it was before. And this is her damage with Savage and Cruel, calculating that defense ignore. But if we add to that the ignore from her skills, like we add 25% to it, so here is 55% so this is Savage plus Cruel plus 25% defense ignore from her skills. And now we have it in the both builds, and we can see that they do the same damage. If we add 6% to the other one to take in account Crushing Rend, we can see the damage. We can see the damage difference with that blessing, and we can see that on the levels that you will see in Platinum Arena, let's say between 3000 and 5500, that's the level you want to look at, and it seems to be between like 7 to 12% damage increase. And if we talk about Platinum Arena, let's just say it's 10 to 11% damage increase in most scenarios. That is very big damage increase from blessing, and sometimes this will be more than Phantom Touch gives, and sometimes not. It kind of depends, and Phantom Touch was just recently nerfed, so I'm not really sure about it yet. But of course this only matters if you have the blessing at 6-star, because if you don't, Phantom Touch is the clear choice. And mine is at 4-star, and I'm probably not gonna use the tokens to get it 6-star because I'm saving them for other stuff. So I will keep using Phantom Touch, but if you happen to luck out and you already have a blessing for it, both of these are options. I'm not quite sure. If you have good gear, maybe Crushing Rend is better, but it will also depend. Sometimes Phantom Touch will be better, sometimes Crushing Rend will be better, because sometimes maybe with her A1 you do like, let's say 30k damage with each hit, and that's 60k, and then you will do like 18k damage with Phantom Touch hit, the 6k that you will get from crossing rent is way less. But let's say you do like 250k with her A2, then at that situation it might be better, but probably overall Phantom Touch, even after the nerf, is still better than crossing rent. Okay, so now we are at the part of the video where it is time to test her damage. And this guide is intended for PvP, so I'm not gonna test her against like in dungeons against low defense targets. We're only gonna test her in arena against actual teams that you would meet in real life or in practice. So let's see how this goes. So that's it for this video. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask me in comments. And if you like this type of content, then please share it in your clan Discord, and maybe I can get more views for my channel and more subscribers. Thank you.